I don't know why every athlete, when they win, they're like, don't give up, believe in yourself. I think some people need to give up.
Borjomi, sponsor us.
Yes, please do. Second episode
Yeah,
of
true.
my podcast. And now my guest is Irakli, who's Georgian, but he was born in Russia, raised in
Germany.
Germany.
Exactly.
How is your experience overall being Georgian abroad?
Thanks for tuning in. This video podcast is a conversation between Georgi, who is organizing wrestling camps in Tbilisi, Georgia, and me, the Georgian samurai, who's adventure traveling the entire world to train every martial art at its birthplace. We're covering the following topics: Georgia as the second stop of my project around the world in 80 fights, why martial arts are less popular in today's world, why Olympic combat sports aren't adapting to the digital age and its consequences, personal insights into my life and my sports journey, the sacrifices it takes to try and achieve nearly impossible goals in sports, but why it's worth it nevertheless, translating learnings from professional sports into everyday life. This is a talk between friends whose hearts burn for martial arts and who want to see them succeed in a world that seems to be forgetting their importance. An opportunity for you to get to know us closer in person, outside of the short form content we do. Hope you enjoy.
Man, it's interesting. I always felt mostly Georgian, and growing up abroad, I always had wish to return. So I'm very, very happy to be back at this point for first time for a long period, staying here at home. So it's awesome. And also joining your camp, having Georgian friends, Georgian experiences. It's just one of my biggest wishes come true at this point.
So when you saw my camp, you used it as an excuse to visit Georgia, or were you coming here anyway?
I was very worried about not being able to come here because usually I come here once a year for like about 2 weeks. And this year it was looking like it won't gonna happen. So it was very sad. And then life turned around in such a way that I managed to come. And that's when I thought it would be awesome and perfect to combine this with your camp. So very happy that it worked out.
My camp is the start of your now long-term Georgian, we can call it journey.
As I'm traveling around the world in 80 fights, how my project is called, I started off in Thailand with Muay Thai, and so Georgia is my second stop. Your camp was the first episode of this stop, so to say. But I will be doing Khridoli, I will be doing judo, visiting my friends from the national team that I fought together with in the first Bundesliga in Germany.
Oh, tell people who don't know what Khridol is.
It's a Georgian martial art. It consists of fights with weapons. It also has elements of nowadays what's called MMA, and it has Chidaoba, which is Georgian wrestling, and so it's like complete martial art system for actual fights. How our predecessors used to fight in actual combat.
But it's not, I don't think it's popular nowadays, right?
Well, life has changed. There's not much need anymore for cold weapons, for swords, for shields and stuff
No,
like
but
that.
you can do it without weapons, like MMA style.
Yes, that's true.
So that's not an excuse. And I
Yeah.
noticed that even not only Georgian wrestling or Georgian martial arts, even freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling is hard to find nowadays. It's inaccessible.
Yeah.
Guys, when guys, foreigners, they try to Google, there's nothing on the internet except my page.
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
Man, I think honestly because the generation, or like our generation, but also the ones after us, lose interest in combat sports, in sports in general, in real life experiences, because life has become so comfortable and is like getting even more like moving towards comfort the whole time, that people just enjoy this and they don't see a necessity, or they don't understand the need to go out in the world, face hardship, face hard situations, overcome them, and also the culture around us, especially in Europe, it's all about feel good, body positivity. I say fuck that, man, because how can you become fat and then say that it's okay this way, right? Because everyone knows it's not. And just because something good is hard to achieve and you don't want to do it, doesn't mean that everybody should accept that. But I feel like this is something that is propagated in the West, and that many people fall into, and so that's why combat sports, especially judo, I know in Germany for years, participant numbers have been going down, and in any other sport, really, it's really declining because people want to be online, they want to be on TikTok, on Instagram, and just spend that time there.
I can agree with that. That nowadays the new generation is really soft.
Yeah.
It's weaker. But at the same time, we have some. Maybe it's just me, but martial arts became trendy. I saw a meme online that said that wanting to be a fighter nowadays is the same as wanting to be a SoundCloud rapper 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting
And
take.
also, not all, yeah, sure, this generation became weak, but there are a lot of people that want to train and they can find gyms. That's like there's several sports that are really inaccessible.
Yeah.
I noticed. Of course, you can find boxing gym anywhere. BJJ gym is in every corner nowadays.
Yeah, true.
MMA is any corner, but there is sports like wrestling, like traditional martial arts. Maybe judo also, not that much, but still judo. That's they don't care about marketing. They don't care about money. They only care about achievements of their students. That's why they don't advertise their martial arts halls, and it's really inaccessible to adults that are inexperienced, but they would love to train.
I think that there are a couple points that we need to touch in your argumentation. So first of all, I think we are currently going through a generational change, right? Because earlier, the people who built the gyms that exist nowadays, they are like the old generation, let's call them that, right? The way you would go to, the way I started training at my gym was that my father, by accident, met the father of one of my best friends today, and they just start talking in the street, right? And he was like, yeah, my son's doing judo, we just moved to Hamburg, so do you have any idea where to go? And so that guy was like, yeah, man, I got the best absolute gym.
Word of mouth.
And yeah, word of mouth, word of mouth. But since nowadays everyone's on their phones, nobody speaks in the street to strangers anymore, how do you gonna do word of mouth, right? So you have to do marketing. And so what I see you doing and why I see your camp working out this well is because you understand that and you make an effort to show people behind the scenes, to show people what we're doing and to make them intrinsically curious about this sport, about this new experience, about Georgia as well. And so I think that is one of the biggest points.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I would add that even in my experience, when I wanted to find wrestling gym at first, when I couldn't find it, it was only word. I searched everywhere, 10 Google pages, nothing,
Yeah.
but only word of mouth. Somebody mentioned it, then he redirected me to his friend, and so on. Then I
Exactly.
found one gym, and I'm like, finally, I found one gym, but it's only one, and I couldn't find other gyms for some time. Then also I heard somebody mention about another gyms.
Yeah.
Then I found them also. Now I know multiple freestyle wrestling gyms, but we gotta accept that. Yeah, word of mouth is over. They need to move online if they want more members, but they might not even care about that, right?
That's true, but I think that is one of the biggest problems for sports in any kind. Because what, for example, let's take the U.S., the country of showmen. We see that in the UFC. UFC has, over the 20 years, has become one of the hugest martial art events in the world because they know how to sell. They know how to sell the sport. They know how to more or less make it attractive, push in terms of business. And what I feel is lacking in all the other sports, judo and wrestling especially, they are Olympic. So the Olympic committee, also like karate, right? The Olympic committee has a huge say in how the sport is supposed to look. And so what is happening is that those sports, because they are Olympic, they think like, yeah, we are the coolest, so like we don't have to do anything else. People will just come. But you and I know it's not that way. And so because there is a split in two generations, the old ones who have built this and made it popular through Olympics, through different stuff, didn't translate it into the new generation, because we have an era change right now. This two generations haven't found each other yet, and I feel like you're one of the first people to like reach their hand towards the old generation and connect them. Also, what I'm trying to do as well, to travel around and get all those connections, tell their stories online, show the people what is going on, and spread this sort of idea that martial arts are very, very cool. In my opinion, one of the coolest things you can do on earth, actually, with your body. Imagine throwing someone like your same weight. He is resisting, but you don't care. You just throw.
Yeah.
What can be cooler?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like it is actually our duty, more or less, who were born and raised in the old generation, but now also have a connection to the new one through online. It's our duty to bring this together and to make it big, especially because you love wrestling, I love judo, and our heart is in that sport. We really care about the sport's future. So I think it's our duty through formats like this to bring it to more people and, yeah, just connect.
But still, one thing I want to touch on is that even though, yeah, we mentioned they don't care about if adults, inexperienced adults, right, that want to train, because of course they want achievement, they don't want
Of
your
course.
money. Still, even if you want to have more kids, advertisement nowadays, digital advertisement is 100% necessary.
Absolutely.
Because, bro, people, parents or boys, they're messaging me, begging me, they can't find a wrestling school
Yeah.
nowhere in Georgia. That was my first thing when I realized that, oh, if I can't find wrestling school, wrestling gym in Georgia, imagine how cooked Europeans are, for example.
Absolutely.
Because Georgia is a wrestling country, and if you can't find wrestling gym here, then it's over for someone in
That's
Belgium.
true. Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, you and I are not huge influencers at the moment, right? You have quite a lot. You have quite a lot of followers by now, which you gained very quickly. So your thing seems to be working, right? But I think for us who care about the sport, right now it's the duty to make this change and help all those gyms, because it's in our hearts to bring on martial arts, right? To make them popular again, to bring the new generation into sports. So I think that we gotta do what we know to help them get online and just spread the word. I feel like that's what you're doing. That is certainly what I'm trying. And so I think we're on a very good way. And just by making more content, getting more popular in a sense, that is how I think you and I will make our contribution to the popularity of the sport. Hopefully new people will join these efforts and will make, yeah, their contributions as well. So I think we have quite a bright future. We're just at the start at this point.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Of course, it's really obvious to everyone that people that are into sports, they're professional martial artists or coaches, because it takes so much to become professional, you need to neglect other things. You need to
Yeah.
neglect marketing.
Exactly.
A lot of people, for example, Georgians, most martial artists don't speak English, for
Yeah.
example.
That's true.
Especially in old school sports like wrestling, judo. I
Yeah.
think it's changing now, but I'm saying old school people, they don't speak English. They are not good with technology, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, not to diss them or anything, it's understandable, because if you want to become Olympic judoka, you need to drill 10,000 times a day,
Yeah.
each single move. You don't have much time for everything else,
Exactly.
right?
But looking back at my own training experience, trying to be a professional judoka it's even more than a full-time job, man, because you got to train 2 or 3 times a day. You have to actively recover, get everything else done, get some money, get like everything else in order. And so it just takes so much time that most people, physical possibility, when you train 3 times a day, you cannot do marketing at the side. It's very hard. Also, the sport doesn't pay enough that you can bring someone in who does it for you. And so it's kind of a closed loop where it's very hard to get out of. And so that's why I think our work is very, very valuable as sportsmen, as lovers of the sport, reaching the hand and, yeah, trying to make people understand how important marketing and online presence is for their survival in the future.
And I need your opinion about that. You mentioned that, for example, being an Olympian, not even Olympian, but just professional, is sometimes more than a full-time job.
Yes,
So I've thought a lot about this. You need to sacrifice so much, right? If
absolutely.
you can't go out, you can't drink, you can't eat whatever you want, you can't be social. You need to sacrifice a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And do you think it's even a good choice to be that, or do you think it's definitely not for everyone, and it's really few beasts that are really different from everybody else? Because I know I couldn't do it.
I just can't tell you my experience. So I was training since I'm 4 years old, and I was training actively until I was 22. That's when I had to finish, unfortunately. But in that time, I was doing quite well, each year getting better. And so at some point, I saw what kind of potential I had. I really liked the sport. I really liked competing. And so, like, over time, a vision developed of me standing at the podium at the Olympic Games. And so, as soon as that vision was developed and I have taken steps towards this goal, for me, the sacrifice was worth it. Absolutely. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was a huge pain, especially like in
But why
puberty,
was it worth it?
because it was such a strong mission in my life that I had put in my head, because I've trained with people who made it to the Olympics, who even took medals there, and just seeing that, understanding that this is achievable, and also having this intrinsic wish of achieving greatness in the sport where you see that you can do it. That was my entire motivation, because I cannot tell you anything else, because it doesn't pay money. You lose friends, you don't have a great time, because training really sucks when you do it the whole time, every day. My whole body is wrecked, everything. But when you start something and really have love for the thing and give everything to it, it will just develop in a way. And at some point, you will understand, do I want to really give everything away to pursue this goal or not? And so at 20, 22 years old, I understood that that was the point where I had injuries and stuff. There was a point where I could say, like, do I really only focus on judo and my perspective for anything else in life decreases? Or will I close this chapter at this point and go into different directions and explore? And unfortunately, even though I would have loved to try and go to the Olympics and everything, I decided otherwise, or life also decided otherwise, because I had to get money. I had to, like, develop in some sort, and that was a point where I said, like, okay, that ride until here was enough. It was great, but it's not worth it anymore for me in my situation to put everything on one card to go to the Olympics.
And I guess it's really hard for a lot of people, including me, to still see why it can be worth it. You didn't do it that long. There are people that dedicate their lives to it.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
like, why, how, and the worst thing is that you can train until you are 30 every day, 2 times a day, and it's still not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
You might suck, you might lose
Absolutely.
on first, you might travel 18 hours to some country, compete and lose on first round, first minute.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that?
I know that's what had happened to me. Travel to a completely different country, you fly out, you're there for 3 days, you fight on the third day, you lose the first round, you're out.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really intrinsic motivation. It really comes down to that, like, what a person thinks he is able to achieve against all odds, and this wish and this dedication and trust in yourself, that against all odds you think you will be able to persist and win. I think that is just a character trait, honestly.
Oh, I see. And related to that, for me, I've always found it, I've always been skeptical of, like, believe in yourself type of motto, because they can all believe in themselves, but at the end of the day, we have one champion. Okay, eight in
True.
every
Yeah.
class. And I guess, what do you think about that? Because you can't, in some things, you can't believe in yourself in all things, right? Your dreams might be unrealistic.
Yeah.
And I don't know why every sportsman, every athlete, when they win, they're like, God, don't give up, believe in yourself. I think some people need to give up.
First of all, I think if you don't have dreams that scare you, you're not really living. Because for me, what makes living worthwhile is to go against all odds. Because factually, as you said, from every person on earth who's doing MMA, you get one champion in one weight class. And so all the others who might have believed in themselves, just the way how I believed that I could become Olympic champion, I was wrong at some
Yeah,
point. And the reality check I got from that wasn't hurting as much as haven't ever tried. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I think everybody who believes and tries to achieve something should do so, because the greatest things in life happened for people who were doubted by everyone, right? And still persisted and reached their goal.
yeah. But there are a million times more people that
Absolutely.
were doubted by everyone and
Yeah, that's
failed.
true. And so, because this is just statistics, same as in business. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Every business that survives the first year closes in the second one and stuff. So, but still, at the end, some people persist, and I think this sheer wish of not wanting to give up and actually doing what needs to be done for that is what separates most people from the ones that work out. That's the value of success at the end. That from all the people, one stuck to it and made it big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but still, I guess it's just impossible to have. Imagine so many boys nowadays dream of being UFC champion. It's just impossible.
That's true.
And yeah, in business you can try another business, and you might hit it big. You might earn million a year, right? But imagine if any entrepreneur thought, yeah, I want to become richer, top 10 richest people. Then it's, yeah, sure. If you want to become pro martial artist, yeah, that's legit.
It all comes down to a personal decision. If that is his biggest wish and he does everything to try and achieve it, and in the end he doesn't, and he can live with that, then I still think he made the best possible decision in his life. And I'd rather be around this kind of people than with people that don't dream at all or that crumble at the first self-doubt that someone throws at them.
But isn't it bad to have that big dream that you say, sacrifice everything and failing, and you are left with not much?
I believe in God. And so I believe that everything we do is supposed to happen. I believe that we always have a choice, A and B. We are deciding, but that every step on our path is supposed to lead us to the end goal of our life. What I'm trying to say is a person who really honestly tried pursuing the goal of becoming UFC champion will maybe won't make it far in terms of money, maybe will have injuries, maybe anything can happen. However, this whole journey will teach the person so much that if the person is a little bit intelligent, the person will be able to use all of this experiences and transform and keep pushing and keep grinding, because that is what I personally learned from judo. Because I don't care about setbacks. Like, setbacks don't exist for me. Setbacks are just temporary learnings. Everything I learned in judo translates into my life, translates into my mindset, and just keeps me pushing, keeps me returning, keeps me showing up, and just doing the work that has to be done. And I feel like martial arts, doesn't matter if Olympic champion in wrestling or UFC champion or judo champion, this journey will make you succeed in life if you're able to translate this learning to your life environment.
Do you think most people will translate or will not translate?
I think, in my experience, most people don't,
Yeah.
but still better if they have that experience than if they don't. Because if they don't take the journey, don't walk the path, there will be nothing to translate in the beginning. That's why I think it's always better to gain experiences, do things, and just trust the process basically. Not only on the short term, but like trust your life's process and everything will be good.
Interesting. Okay, before it gets dark, I know you are curious about a couple of things about
Exactly.
me, about my project.